Hello.
Welcome to episode 4 of Who Let Us podcast. Today we are talking about a film called, what is it, Memories of Murder?
Memories of Murder?
I don't know
a
why,
one
but
that
I
you
keep getting the name
said the
wrong.
name of wrong.
Memories of a murder, memories of the murders. And
Memories
I'm
of
no.
a murderer. You've said it wrong in so
I've
many
said
different ways. It's actually quite
every
fascinating.
way that I could have said it other than the actual title of the film.
Basically, yeah. You've fucked it up in most ways that it can be fucked up to be quite
I've let my tea go cold.
Yeah, my tea is cold as hell.
I'm really
Because
annoyed.
it's taken forever just to try and
be
sort
fair,
these mics out.
We couldn't get the microphones to work before, whereas now they are working.
I wish, can you not just do it where
If you want to buy us a new microphone, that'd be absolutely wonderful. Maybe
just-
I just need it on my face, like this.
give us some money of some kind. That would be
Should
really
we set
helpful.
up a Patreon? Let us know.
Hi, we're doing Memories of Murder.
Yeah, should we just start it again? No, we're good. We're
Sorry,
good.
I'm
We're
going
I'll
to shuffle
edit it out.
around because I'm slightly uncomfortable.
So yeah, we're talking about Memories of Murder.
Yeah.
I watched it last night. I was going to say better than I thought, but I thought really nothing of it, to be honest.
You just got to the end of the film and you thought nothing of that?
No, I had no opinion going into it
Right,
of
okay.
whether I assumed it would be good or bad. Like
I
had no-
think I maybe... Did I oversell this to you?
No, I
'Cause I've seen it
I
before.
don't think you would have oversold it.
This is my third time seeing it.
All right, fucking turtle power.
See it 3 times, yeah. It's very... I
It's an interesting film.
proper love it. And I think I've come to the conclusion that someone has said to Sophie that apparently we're going to end the podcast when we do apparently the greatest true
I
crime
feel like you've really
True
thought
story
too
film
much
ever.
into that.
Zodiac, but I think this is better.
I did not think this was better than Zodiac.
I think it's funnier than Zodiac.
Oh god, it's funnier
Why
than
is it so
Zodiac.
funny?
It's hilarious.
Why am I laughing
Why
at
is there
this?
so many fly kicks?
Oh, so many jumping kicks.
Like
It's exactly what I
so
wanted.
many.
It
Me
turns
and
out
everyone
that
were watching it, and honestly, every time that he kicked, I was like, "Are you seeing this?
I couldn't believe that.
This man is in the air
The
from
amount
a
of-
standing position."
Yeah, jump kicks. I mean, very impressive to be honest that they're getting
he
up that
was
high.
amazing at it. Amazing.
Like,
but he didn't like. He
Are
didn't
they
really
like
jump.
teaching jump kicks in high schools in South
In
Korea or
high
something?
school.
Do you know what I mean? Because why are they so good at it?
have-
Why is it? Oh, why are they all so good at it?
I know. I mean, it's just that one guy, and then he gets his leg amputated. I was like, that is jump.
He's
kick
also a
karma.
scumbag, though. That is spoilers, though.
I mean, we
Yeah.
have already said it's spoilers.
Should I tell you what it is? I feel like I want to just get the recommendation because I've realised I haven't been doing recommendations.
We don't need recommendations. That's not what we're here for.
Okay, I fully recommend this film because I think it's
Well,
class.
there you go. You can recommend it. That's absolutely fine.
I think it's absolutely class, and also for anyone who has seen Parasite,
Which
and
I still haven't seen.
which you still haven't seen, and thinks that Bong Joon-ho is the
That's your fault.
coolest fucking director in the world. It's true. He really is.
Unlocked.
Why am I passing my unlocked phone to you?
Because I can't get my own. We're going to try and not go on too many tangents today because I don't want another over an hour long episode. And I
Yeah,
know
I'd quite like
people
an
probably
hour
won't either.
solidly. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just
Or
a
just
solid
Sunday.
hour.
That would be nice.
That would be lovely. That.
So
Imagine
let's
that, like
get talking
55
about the
minutes.
film.
Let's get talking
So
about the film.
lots of fly kicks. We've already said that.
I love
There's
the
jump kicks.
loads
There's
of-
fucking
loads
just
of
people
jump
through
kicks.
the air, constantly kicking.
Proper
Suspects. Can I just
suspects.
add?
Yeah,
That's what it is.
suspect. One of them's the actual other detective, so it's pretty rough.
What do you mean? It's the other. Oh yeah.
Where
But
just-
to be fair, they thought he was trying to rape a woman. So
yeah. Why that seems so
I
funny,
can
man.
understand if a man wants to jump kick someone if he thinks
If he thinks he's
a
raping
man
a
is
woman.
raping a woman.
To be honest, I
That's-
actually kind of
that's
almost,
fair.
I almost kind of really, really respect the choice to jump kick a man who's trying to,
Yeah,
who he thinks
100%.
is trying to rape a
If
woman.
Adam doesn't jump kick a man that he thinks is trying to rape a woman, who
What
is
kind
he?
of man
you know
is
what I
he?
mean?
Do you know
What
what I mean?
kind of man
What kind
is
of
he?
man is he?
I mean, he'd just punch him in the face, to be fair. So he wouldn't jump kick.
No, Sophie, I'd jump
He'd probably
kick them
break
I'd
his
jump
back.
kick them in the chest.
Yeah, you know what, right? You know what? If you could,
Should we be making jokes about these things? The film does.
they did it first.
The
20
film
years ago.
Yeah, 20 years
the
ago.
film is from 2003 actually, which is really interesting. I feel like I hadn't heard about it until you said about it, and obviously I think it goes very hand in hand with Zodiac. It's kind of like the
These are a bit-
Korean Zodiac.
They're
essentially.
they're kind of like a
And
they could be like
actually-
companion pieces. I reckon you could do these as a double bill, to be honest.
Like, I didn't think, me personally, I didn't think it was quite as good as Zodiac. Zodiac is longer, and I guess there's more
There's
investigation
more
in
like
it.
minutiae, isn't there? There's just more stuff.
Yeah, there's more
And
like
it goes on longer as well.
what's the word? Substance to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think that's also because this place where this crime took place in South Korea is really small as well.
Yeah.
So you feel that, I think, in the film as well. But you
But-
can feel the same sort of desperation from them, like you did
Yeah.
in Zodiac from like
Yeah,
Mark
yeah, yeah.
Ruffalo and
There's like this
Robert
thing
Downey
coming
Jr.
from the
and
higher.
stuff.
There's this thing kind of coming from the higher ups, where like the police captain who just at one point just gets like violently drunk and then just throws up in a
throws
bucket.
up in a bucket.
Throws up
I
in a
was like,
bucket,
is that
and then he
man
starts like
okay?
having a go at his
I
officers,
know.
and I'm like, "Who are you right now, sir?"
Also, he vomits into this like ice bucket type thing, and then he's like, "Take it away." I'm like, "You need to chill the fuck out. You just vomited in that."
I have a question for you actually. Is this is an aspect of the film? Who do you think this woman is that keeps treating the lead detective?
It's his wife,
No, it is not.
but
She's a sex worker.
she's at the end of the film with him.
She's a sex worker. Yeah, because they got married. She
Yeah.
is a sex worker and she
Well,
works in a brothel.
I actually thought at first that she was a sex worker because something that there was a couple of things that he said about getting money for it instead of it being a nurse.
I weirdly kind of like enjoy the weird sex scene when he's just like, "Is it come out?"
Yeah,
I was like,
she's just on top.
She's just
and
on top.
He doesn't even look like he's enjoying it.
Yeah, I know. He's
He's
just
paying
like,
for it. But he's, you know what? I feel like that's why they got married, because their sex was that mundane. They thought, you know what? We have to get married.
They weren't already having marital sex
I think,
prior to the marital sex.
they were, exactly. They were in the missionary position most times.
Yeah, missionary position.
No, but I think
Boring.
it was a weird dynamic with them, actually, because at first I was like, I did think that she was a sex worker, and I was like, oh yeah, fair, whatevs.
She clearly
And then-
used to be a nurse or something, or still is a nurse.
No, I think she is a daytime nurse, or maybe even nighttime nurse, actually. And then
she-
daytime sex worker. or
daytime
whatever,
sex
I think.
worker. Yeah, because
She's
like
moonlighting as one of them.
yeah, she's moonlighting as one of them.
But I
'cause-
think the line between those moonlight jobs passes, because I think obviously with nurses and stuff they'll do a lot of.
yeah, she just starts
Night
like giving him
shifts,
checkups.
She's like injecting him in
She's
the butt
injecting
with
him with
whatever he's getting, and then later on she's giving him an IV drip. Adam was like, "Is he just getting an IV at the side of the road?"
No, at the side of a fucking river.
Yeah. And then I was like, "Well, Adam," I was like, "To be fair," I was like, "I'm sure she's a nurse." I was like, "So I think."
Yeah.
You know, there's something that he's getting treated for. Nothing major, I would imagine. It's just something that he
I
has
don't think
to
so. I
kinda
don't think
have.
so. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was weird. Also, the colour of their bananas when they're in the nightclub. Also, why is there so much fruit in the nightclub?
I don't know why there's so much fruit.
He's got grapes. He was fucking peeling
Yeah.
with a knife. He's peeling some fruit.
Should we do a fake synopsis of this film?
A fake
A
synopsis.
vague one.
Oh, vague and
because I realise we've just started like talking about the minutiae of certain scenes. And
If you know what Zodiac is about, you know what Memories of
it's kind
Murder
of
is
that.
about. Yeah.
Like it's like a bunch of murders that happen of like specifically of women. It's like rapes and murders, isn't it?
Rapes and murders that happen 1986 till I'm going to tell you about that because it doesn't really tell you in the film.
Yeah, because the film it
Um,
feels like it could be like 1 year maybe.
The film spans from ultimately 1986, where all the shit is cracking off,
well, technically to like 2000.
until 2003, but obviously
2003,
a
yeah.
lot has happened in that time,
Yeah.
like whatever. There's some rapes and murders going on, and it's just them trying to find out what's going on. I think at first they're not taking it very seriously, and
Yeah.
obviously they're very shit at their job. Clearly they're not good detectives in the slightest. And then you've got this guy who comes along from, is it pronounced Seoul?
He's from Seoul, yeah.
Yeah, from Seoul, which is obviously a bigger city in
Well,
South Korea than where they are
it's
currently.
Not main city. I was going to say
The
main city
capital?
capital. Fuck me.
No,
honestly,
I know
words
that-
just completely
I'm not.
elude me.
I
at some
know.
point.
I'm
Oh yeah,
saying
massive city,
It's
and
a
he's
bigger.
coming to like
it's a
this.
much bigger city.
But he's coming to this tiny village.
He's coming to this tiny village, and obviously he's got all the expertise of like a big
Yeah,
city
yeah. Big city cop.
detective. You know what I mean?
And he's got
And
the
then-
moodiness of one.
Oh,
There's like a point
yeah.
where there's a point where they're like looking at him and he's like smoking a cigarette and they're like, oh, he's got style though. And I kind of rated that so
That
much.
scene when they go and he's went to see a shaman, and then
He
got
keeps
like
talking about the
this
shaman's
thing.
eyes, which I think he's talking shit. But anyway,
Of course
the
he's
man's
talking shit.
But it's
He-
proven true when he like notices the fucking knickers though.
But no, it's not proven true.
It
That's
is
just,
sort of.
No, it's not. If
No,
you're
no.
a detective, you need to fucking know
He's
his
got
shit
open
like
your
this.
fucking eyes.
He's a shit detective.
He's just the only one that, like, maybe looks at a crime scene vaguely.
Nobody else is.
Because nobody else seems
I
to.
feel like it's
They're like, did you find him there? Did you find the body here? I don't know.
when there's like kids playing in the field.
Oh, God.
And there's people picking shit up, and they're just like, "What are you doing? Like, you're ruining a crime scene. Like,
Yeah,
what's
I
going
know.
on?" But you know what? It's very slapstick. So
It is
so much slapstick.
That's
like,
why the
but I
the
think-
jump kicks work so well.
that is why the jump kicks work so well, because you've got all this stupidity and you've got this, but I think that is kind of like, this is kind of what the case started out as. Like, it was just bamboozled, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, it was not good. They were practically they were literally torturing suspects and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
And
Like,
then they
they're-
continue to do that through most of the case.
yeah, they're trying to coerce confessions out of them and stuff like that, and they do.
Yeah.
Which also I'll tell you, like, the bits from
Yeah,
the real
the
life.
truth.
But yeah, it felt so weird. And then Adam turned to me at one point and was like, "How on earth are you going to do a podcast about this film?" And I was like,
Really?
What do you mean? And he was like, "What are you going to talk about?" And I was like, what do you
All
mean?
of-
I was
all
like,
of
all of
it.
it. But then we got to a point, and I mean, I understood what he was saying. But then we got to a point and he was like, "No, this is better now." So I think it just sort of kicked in
What,
where
in
it
terms
was
of
like
in terms of like the police work or something? Like what do you reckon?
just, I think because it was crazy. It was just
Yeah,
absolutely
it is kind of wild, to be
ridiculous.
honest.
And I think it was a case of like, Adam was like, "How the fuck are you talking about this shit? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on with this film?" And I think, that was a crack and a half on
Yeah, I
me.
know, I heard that one.
I think he was just
Mike's would've
kind of
picked
like,
that
what is going on with this film?
Yeah.
And then it gets a lot more serious because I think they start taking it more serious.
The film does what I think like a lot of like South Korean movies that I've seen just have like that kind of like tone. They can shift into, they'll shift from like, well, this is the same director. This is Bong Joon-ho. It's the same director who made Parasite.
Director, not director.
He made Snowpiercer, Okja, like stuff like that. But like he
Oh, is that one on Netflix?
Netflix,
with
the
the
one
animal
about the
thing?
big giant pig. Yes.
I've not seen it.
It's very
but I've
good. It
seen
made a
the-
lot of people vegetarian, including me. But yeah, especially with like South Korean films, like from what I've seen of them, like they can like shift in tone like really dramatically.
I mean, that's evident from this,
But-
essentially, isn't it? Really?
But what I find so like cool about them, I guess, like it's the confidence I think from like, especially like the directors who are making these films, like they seem to be so confident to like just go for something and just like really go for like a very different tone, and it'll just like
There's no
shift.
like trepidation with just changing it up, is there? They're
There's
just like,
there's no like
that
like
was funny.
oh
Now it's super serious.
we need to really need to like build this in. It's like if you're just confident enough in the story, then you can just do that within
Yeah.
a couple of scenes. You could just shift it from like
But then I guess they're
comedic
just
to
personifying
serious.
probably what really happened over
Exactly.
the time as well.
Yeah.
So where it was probably seen as a bit of a joke, which obviously people do that. Oh, you know, this investigation's a joke, blah blah blah. And then you've got where they're actually kind of taking it more serious and then really getting into it and stuff.
yeah. So there's one scene in particular which I think. So I always think like in Zodiac, there's that scene with the couple who are the couple he murdered couples, but like
Yeah.
you know the one of them by the lake,
Yeah.
and there's
Where
like
they survive.
where he sighs, she dies.
Yeah, yeah.
But like there's like a whole thing where she is like, that whole scene is like quite upsetting, like, and it's quite like almost like tough to watch. And like those
You should live it, you know.
when the knife is going into
Yeah,
her,
yeah, yeah.
it looks so aggressively real. I think there is a scene to rival that in this film as well. I think it's that bit where that lass is trying to get that factory. You know, when she hears the whistling.
Oh god, yeah.
That scene
was...
is.
Whew.
There's like a great like.
And then he just jumps out.
He
From
just
the thing.
comes out-
I
he just
actually
comes
got a
out-
shock. I was like,
Oh yeah, it's like gross, uncomfortable.
I know,
You're like, and
because
he's
you're
coming
like,
towards the screen.
you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
and it just cuts away. It's perfect. But
It's a good scene. It's
there's
good
a
scene,
whole
that.
like, there's a really really good thing of like proving that.
Was that the song that he kept playing on the radio as well?
I think so. I think
that,
it is.
I feel like that would be like a
Um,
moment if you looked back at it
Yeah.
to see.
But
You know
that's-
what? Also, I love that they're doing karaoke at that nightclub scene as well.
Yeah, I love
And
the
he
way...
he gets annoyed halfway through a song, doesn't he?
Yeah, I know, and he's like, it's always like looking at the other detective, and he's like, "Fuck you," sort of thing,
Yeah.
like because he's like this like big city boy,
Like, just continue.
like,
your
and he's
song.
like good at his job, and I hate that, and
Yeah.
he cares, like,
And then they start fighting, and the guy's like, "If you start fighting again,
I'll
I'm gonna kill
and
you
I'll
both."
kill you both.
Yeah, I'll kill you both. And then
Okay.
they do start fighting
And he-
again later on,
again later on,
and Alas gets killed, and he's like,
and
"Well, you two
that's
were
that's
fighting."
where the real shift happens. I think.
Yeah, I think
because
because
then
they
this
realise
this like
the song starts playing on the radio.
Yeah,
it's raining
raining.
outside. They were like, "Holy shit, it's going down."
um
And they couldn't do anything about it, and I think that's where it kind of twigged, at
And
least,
they- but
for the
it's-
shit detective to go, we need to do
they
more
could have
about
done.
it.
So, I think it's more of like a. That's,
could have.
They could have.
Yeah.
If they weren't like infighting, and if they weren't like
If they put their differences aside.
put their differences aside, but also like did real fucking police work.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I think what's really, really, I genuinely think like I love the way the two of them shift. I love that scene, and like I kept thinking about like how it's like directed as a scene. I love Bong Joon-ho anyway. Do you want some cool facts about Bong Joon-ho?
Go for it.
He did sociology at university.
Did he?
He did sociology
You
at
and me
university.
both, man.
Um,
Well, I
he-
did criminology, but social science.
He's a very
we
like
both did social science.
he at one point for a newspaper he was their cartoonist, so he does his own
So he's gone from
storyboards.
social science
Yeah.
to art to
Yeah.
film.
He bought like a camera when he was really young. Yeah, so he was like a cartoonist, so he tends to do his own storyboards for his own films.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that's why he's always like so like particularly visual, especially in like Parasite. There's like a particular thing where like there's a big thing about going up and versus going down.
Okay,
and
don't
that being like a
talk
social
too much
class
to me
thing.
about Parasite.
It's just like visual representation of
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
things. Yeah, I just think he's like such a terrific director. But he basically said, so it took him a year to write the screenplay for this film,
Okay,
and he said 6 months alone was just research.
understandable.
He just said there was like so much to go through
Yeah,
that like he just had to get all this fucking research done.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that really shows. It really
to be fair, from what I've read,
really
he
does
did really
show,
well with it as well.
like,
Yeah, like
and I think he's a very
good job.
I love him as a director because I think I think he's a very empathetic director. He both like understands these cops and both thinks they're pricks as well. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't like completely judge them. Like I really love that like the main cop, which is played by I never want to get his name wrong because I actually think he's really, really cool.
You never want to get anybody's name
Song
wrong.
Kang-ho.
You shouldn't get people's name wrong. Full stop.
I shouldn't. But Song Kang-ho, who is also the lead in Parasite, who
Mm-hmm.
I also was in the car with you earlier, arguing that he could have won Best Actor for Parasite because I thought his performance in that film is so good. But yeah, so he took like a year.
Give them all an Oscar.
Give them all. Just
Fucking
give everyone Oscars.
nominees. Just give them.
But yeah, it took him about a year to write it. I love him so much as a director because I just think like he's been working so like consistently, and I kind of love that now he's, he moved over to some English language films with like Snowpiercer, which I think is a really good film, like Okja, and people are really, I think, starting to really pay attention to his work. And his next
I think
film,
especially with Parasite. Yeah.
especially with Parasite, his next film is like a big sci-fi movie with Robert Pattinson. Which I'm super fucking
How is
excited
he
for.
cropping up in this again?
It's called like Mickey 23 or something, and it just like sounds insane. Like
Great. Oh, I
and
feel like I have heard that actually.
there's just like a trailer, and it's just like blonde Robert Pattinson and like a weird chair, and I'm
Fantastic.
like, cool man, like I can't wait
That's Robert Pattinson.
because I just
all
think
over, really, isn't it?
I just think he's such like an exciting director that like anytime I hear he's doing something, I just get mad excited.
Yeah.
There was a thing. Oh, loads of this. You'll find this, I think, really, really interesting. He said he based loads of the screenplay on From Hell by Alan Moore.
From Hell,
Yeah. He said in terms of like tone.
as in the Jack the Ripper film.
Yeah. No, not the film, the graphic novel.
Oh, okay.
Like the
right.
comics that it was based on.
I feel like you should have specified
And he said he really didn't like the
shit film.
shit film. Yeah, it's proper shit. Why is Johnny Depp in it? Anyway, why is it so obvious who the villain is? Anyway,
Yeah, but at the time, why would Johnny Depp have not been in it?
yeah, I guess so.
Realistically.
Yeah, he was like really, really disappointed in it. But like, it kind of takes inspiration from like loads of different sources. I just think he's such a cool director. He has a big thing with food. Food comes up a lot in his films.
Well, there was a lot of food in the film, but I think that's mainly just because that is very Korean thing, you know, when they put the food on the thing and they like sort of cook it themselves.
Yeah.
Because I work with a lass who is she's just literally been to Korea
Yeah.
like last week.
Mm-hmm.
I think her mum's Korean.
Right.
It's so funny because she tells me all the time about how much like how much respect there is from people,
Right.
like Korean people.
Oh, right, okay.
And she's like, and then I come back and I'm like, oh, we're dickheads. I'm like 100% British people, dickheads.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're all dickheads. It's just like, it's
Thank
just
you
kind of just like,
thank you for making
yeah,
that more and more clear than
yeah.
what you said. Dickheads. Dickheads.
That it wasn't aimed directly at you.
Was it not? Okay,
No.
cool.
No. But that's a big thing where they do the whole like you'll have like Korean restaurants and stuff like that where they do the meat thing where you have to do it yourself.
Like do it
and
yourself
stuff.
sort of thing.
You know what? I would love to do it, but I feel like I do it wrong.
I feel like I'd fuck it up.
Oh.
And then
But you don't eat meat, to be fair.
I don't eat meat, so I'm not in danger.
You'd just be searing veg.
I might just like not have good food. But like you could genuinely get salmonella. Like you could get food poisoning. Well, if you like undercooked it or something,
Not from beef.
you can't.
I mean, it's
I'm
really
sure you
hard
can.
to. I mean,
Chicken?
you can eat
You can't.
chicken, obviously,
Chicken's got
but you
loads.
can eat
Honestly,
uncooked
chicken
beef.
is salmonella city.
Yeah, that's why Adam cooks our chicken because he's
Yes.
very thinking about it.
'Cause he just blasts it.
Yeah, but you can literally eat uncooked beef. That's why people
'cause-
have like rare steaks, bloody. Not my personal choice, but you can.
Jordan Peterson.
Anyway, we're
just
talking about
eating
fucking
rare steaks all the time. Anyway, but I just
down.
what the hell? There was something else I wrote. Oh, right. Yo, something I found really, really cool actually when I was watching it this time. There was a lovely piece of storytelling that I think I totally and utterly missed. Like the first two times I've watched it. I think it was maybe I didn't pay attention to the earlier scene. You know the last victim?
Yeah.
You know how she's got like that bit and he like pulls her shirt back down?
Yeah. It's because it's the young lass
It's
that he
because
talks
it's the
to
young
at
lass. I
school.
just totally didn't notice it. Cause
You
it's
didn't even notice that?
I didn't notice it the first time. Because it's the plaster thing, innit? Because
Yeah.
I think I just didn't notice that
Well,
he was like putting the plaster on her and stuff.
I did think at first because
Why
her
are we
friend was there and she was
Yeah.
like in bits, obviously. And I was like,
And they're
no,
in another-
I turned to
they're in
Adam, I was
another
like, I
scene
think
where
it
they're-
might have been his little friend from the school.
They're in that other scene where
Yeah,
they're doing the chase.
There's 3 scenes with them. One of them is obviously when she's been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was where they come in to the little hut thing where the
Yeah,
policewoman brings her in from the rain.
Yeah, where the lass in red is just like walking around with an umbrella, like looking
Yeah.
over, like as if it's like a.
And then the second one is when he goes to the school to speak to her again. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
why her specifically, but
I think maybe just because like she'd spoken to him about this whole thing of like inside of
pulled
this.
me foot off.
What?
Pulled
She
me
pull your
foot
little
off.
foot off. Jesus Christ, Sophie.
Whoopsie.
Stop pulling feet.
Yeah,
I think,
so obviously he goes
I think
to
he,
speak to
he,
her.
I think he talks to her because she's the one that told him about this like this story that
Yeah.
is heard about like that how what is it like the hut
It's like an outhouse kind
outhouse
of
type
thing.
thing, and then that
Is it?
what comes from that is
I was gonna say, is it the
Woof.
woman that got raped? It is the woman, isn't it? It's her.
Like it's more of a it's more a rumor that got built around her. Like
Yeah.
not even really a rumor. It's more of like almost like it feels like a kind of like
It's like a
folk
Chinese
tale
whispers of what's happened
sort of, yeah.
to her. Like obviously
But, like-
she. Can I ask why is Chinese whispers called Chinese whispers?
I don't know. I think it's probably a racist thing, Sophie.
That's what I just
Do you reckon
thought
it's
as
racist?
soon as I said it. I was like, why do
Well, it's
we
like-
call it Chinese whispers? The phrase terms from a xenophobic idea
Xenophobic
from
idea?
1800s that Chinese people spoke in a way that was deliberately unintelligible.
Exactly. Maybe it was just that they were speaking in a different language, eh, bro?
I'm peeved at this.
I know. And you just
Fuck
said it.
you, Chinese whispers.
You xenophobic piece of shit.
It's not
Sophie.
xenophobic, it's xenophobic.
Xenophobic.
Cinephobic.
Cinephobic.
Yes, if you listen to what I'm saying. Do you need me to Google cinephobic now?
Yeah, because I actually don't know what that means.
I mean, I'm assuming it's
Honestly, I've been in like my
anti-Chinese sentiment. I thought that was pretty obvious when we were saying Chinese whispers.
Oh, right, okay, fair.
I'm
That's
gonna-
pretty interesting.
What can I say instead of Chinese whispers?
It's just the rumor mill,
Yeah, rumour
almost.
mill's
It's just
gonna-
like the
it's gonna be
rumor
rumour
mill
mill,
of
isn't
it, basically. It's just like
They were talking.
almost
People
because, it
understood
almost
what
feels
they
like
were
a
saying.
like folk tale because of the way the little girls talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately,
And
I
then
think
that
that's
bloke
what
who's
it
like
is. I
wanking
think-
on the bra and panties, and in women's underwear. That
Sorry,
sequence is so interesting.
Can we just talk about that scene when they go to
It's
do
the
the little ritual?
The series of events, right? So
It's so funny that he
Is-
goes to the shaman and he's like, "Don't try and sell that fucking shit to me." And then he clearly buys the shit.
yeah, he's like,
And then he
how much are
goes-
you charging for the ink and paper or whatever?
And then he goes to obviously this foresty bit or whatever,
Where they found
where they found
the body of this
one
woman,
of the
yeah.
bodies, yeah, the most recent body. And then they're doing this little ritual thing to try
Where you
and then he's
pour
like,
ink
when
onto
this
the paper."
dries, it will show us the face of the
killer,
suspect.
of
And
the
I'm like,
killer.
how?
Where were
It's
you getting
mud
this from, bro?
and water. How are you? How?
No, it's ink. I think it's ink that he's doing it with.
Mud and
It
ink
still
or
doesn't
whatever.
make sense.
Still doesn't make any more sense than it did before. And then, obviously, they're like, "Who
And
is
then they're
this
like,
coming
who-
down the hill or coming up the hill?"
He says something which is so stupid. He goes like, "You're a police officer," and he's like, "The criminal will always turn back up to the scene of the crime." Probably not always, bro. Like, you're a cop.
Not to be fair, that does happen a lot.
I'm sure it happens a lot, but he like says it as if like, well, obviously. And
No,
it's like really
the way
funny
that
the way he
says
says it.
it was like, "Have you not heard? This is what happens."
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I mean, he does say it to his cop that it seems like his only benefit
He
is
said-
kicking people.
He said that he spent years in the 9th grade. Man is not qualified to be
He's
police.
so stupid.
Not qualified.
and like for some reason they mention his boots a lot.
His boots
Because he
were
keeps
made
just
for
kicking
kicking.
people. He just kicks people with them all the time. You know when they put that like weird shower cap on his boots, and it's like, why you do that? And
When
it's
he's
like,
still got it
so-
on sometimes,
so
and it's
it-
just like a little threatening piece.
Yeah,
Even though it's like a doily.
it gets shown. It gets shown at one point where like
It's like a
they're-
tea cozy,
They're on the
isn't it, really?
stairs. They're on the stairs of the
You
captain's.
stopped laughing so quick and just got dead serious. I was like, "Oh shit,
Yeah, I know.
stop talking."
So it's like on the stairs of the basement, just like horrible basement that they just keep
Where
like
they
torturing,
do their torture, their interrogations.
forced interrogations.
Not set up very well, is it?
Yeah,
this place?
it
I mean,
looks
but
like
it is also the 80s.
It looks like a back room, but like
Well, it is.
basically just fucking is. Also, none of this will be. All of this will be admissible. Anyway, none of it will be.
Yeah.
Absolutely none
This is not standing up in court.
of it. I don't think.
none
I
of
don't
it.
think they're thinking about that. That's why he like puts down like the shoes earlier on and like pretends to make like the new imprint. It's like, dude, what the fuck? They're just fucked.
The
like
mental thing is
terrible
that
police
that
officers.
other detective doesn't mention it for ages. If that was me, I'd be like, "What the actual
there's
fuck
there's
are
kind
you
of a
doing?"
thing. There's kind of a thing where like the detective who's the detective that's come from Seoul, he like judges them, but he
he's
never
like,
he doesn't step in that often.
No.
He like watches that confession. Wow, okay, with the guy with the burn, he has learning difficulties
Yeah,
basically.
he definitely has learned.
And like I would say
But
that
in 80s Korea, that's not going to have been
Oh,
diagnosed in any
God.
way, shape, or form.
it was actually like some of the scenes with him are actually really upsetting.
Oh yeah.
Because of the way he's like, even like
He's
towards-
bullied, isn't
he's
he?
bullied, and like towards the end, there's like that great bit. They like re-interview him, but
Mm-hmm.
they like chase him out of that restaurant, and even then, like he starts to like go off on a bit of a tangent,
Mm-hmm.
and like the cop who's from Seoul, who you're supposed to be like, okay, you're like a good
You're the
cop.
good one,
he
yeah.
just fucking smacks him
I
as well,
know.
and you're like, oh,
I think that's
bastards.
kind of showing their
Them two shift positions.
yeah they
Them
do
two,
a bit yeah.
them two really shift, and I actually really like that dynamic between them.
The
I
good
love that.
cop, bad cop is like it's on a pendulum, really, isn't
That
it?
scene,
where it does swing.
the
back
scene
and
that I
forth.
really love is like they're both got their like heads on the desks, and they're both like talking about like
where
cop
it's
from
all
S-
gone wrong.
Yeah, the cop from where it's all gone wrong and how they've messed up. But then the cop from Seoul like kind of suggests that maybe your methods of like getting a confession out of someone makes sense. Sort of thinking like he sort of suggests that to the other cop, but the other cop at this point, who is Song Kang-ho, is like he has now gone away from that now.
Yeah,
He doesn't
now
want to get
it's like,
confessions
no,
that
no,
way.
no.
He
We
doesn't
need
want to
to
get
find this
he doesn't want to get
person.
through confessions through violence and stuff like that. He wants to get it through like good police work now, and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's like they kind of shift in very very interesting ways.
I think they both end up seeing the benefits of what the other does, but
Sort of,
after
yeah.
they've seen that their way
After
is
they've
not
judged the
benefiting
other,
as much.
yeah. But okay, so series of events that we were talking about because we've
Oh,
got
shit,
off on
yeah.
another tangent.
So-
Right, they're out there.
They're
He's
out there,
put the
yeah,
ink
they're
on the
doing
paper.
this
He's put the
thing.
ink on the paper, and he thinks that now is going to show the face of the killer,
Yeah, they see a man walking up the hill.
which I think is very. I think that's quite Twin Peaks. Maybe I just see Twin Peaks in everything because I just think that is the great show ever made.
I think
But
Twin Peaks is just ingrained.
it's
in
just
your
honestly,
eyes.
I feel like
forever.
like in Indiana Jones, when when she's written on her eyelids and she's like, "I love you." I've just got Twin and Peaks. Did that reference really not flow with you? One?
I haven't seen Indiana Jones.
What the fuck?
I
Anyway,
thought you were gonna go.
imagine if I just left.
Bye.
This podcast is over.
I've
Okay,
got nothing.
series of events, right?
Yeah.
So then,
So he comes walking up the hill.
The cop from Seoul turns up, but they
Right,
think it
sorry,
might be the police
you've,
officer.
You've totally disrupted something there.
Okay.
So they've got this big canvas thing. They're looking at the ink in the mud and whatnot and blah blah blah. And then they look down the hill and they're like, oh, there's a man coming up the hill.
Yeah.
And then the man comes up the hill, but they hide
Yeah, they
behind
hide,
mounds
yeah.
of grass.
Yeah.
So they hide, but it turns out that it's the other detective who's just come to think
And
about the case.
that's when the other cop who's the thickhead. I'm just gonna call him thickhead, but like he's just thick. Kicking cop. I'll call him kicking cop, right? But in kicking cop, that is where he decides to reference that he thinks that the guy from Seoul is like, oh, he's got style, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's what he was
I
saying.
love that scene.
Because he's like smoking a cigarette and he's
Yeah,
just,
and he's
standing
like
there.
moody, and he's
He's
like
like,
a
"Look at
detective in like a true. He's like True Detective. It's like really like True Detective.
Yeah, yeah. And then
It's like really moody.
and then someone else starts coming up the hill,
yeah.
and then Soul
So he
Detective
hides,
is
but in
like,
a different
"Shit."
spot.
Yeah, so then he hides.
on the other side.
And this is why this film is really hilarious. So then he hides, and then obviously you've got that guy who comes along, and he's got a torch.
You don't see
Man's
his face for a
prepared.
good while.
You don't see his face. He puts women's underwear on the ground.
And it, like
And
almost
then
in the
has-
shape of where a body would be.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort
Well,
of,
pretty much.
as
you
if
know,
someone
it
was
w-
lying
if
on the
someone
ground.
was lying on the ground. And then takes his pants down to expose the fact that he is wearing red frilly pants.
Bright red, frilly women's underwear.
And then starts having a wank over the underwear.
Yes, but like with the torch in his mouth,
With the torch in his
so
mouth.
he can keep an eye on the underwear.
Yeah, well, he wants to look at it.
Well,
He
yeah,
can't-
of course
where's
he
he going to...
What else is the
How many
point
hands
doing
has he
this?
got, Gavin? He's
Yeah,
only
true.
got two.
Yeah, he's only got two hands.
Well, actually, no, he's got one.
He's got free hands. Surely.
I haven't
Anyway.
got a penis. I don't know how you
should have a
you
free
do
hand.
those things. He should have a free hand. That's my logistics
But he's
in my
got it in
head.
his
He's got a
mouth
free
because
hand.
I think that's just a good image, to be honest.
Well, when Kicking Cop Man
Yeah. Alerts.
alerts him accidentally because he steps on a twig and breaks it, and it's like,
Yeah.
and it's like the noisiest thing in the world. And he just drops it out of his mouth and just scarf
And
it.
just
I thought that
scars,
was
yeah.
great.
I think that's class.
Because he doesn't think, he just
He just
holds
gets
and
the
just
fuck out of there.
bolts, and then he's gone.
And then like
And just
they're
casually
like,
goes
why
back to
did you
work.
run away from us? It's like I'd run away from anyone if I was caught wanking in the woods.
Yeah, well,
you know what I
absolutely.
mean? Like,
Which essentially is exactly what happened. He's like, oh shit.
Oh, fuck! Someone's here.
But
so it's so
also,
comfortable.
he's probably what's running through his head is getting caught wanking over some women's underwear that I may have stolen, might be my wife's. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
On a crime scene essentially.
Yeah.
So you know,
looks very uncomfortable.
a lot of people would run.
That it's like the shot of like the detective. You know, the detective from Seoul, when he sees like them running out there and they all
Yeah.
start running together. You can see on his face, he's like, "What the fuck are you two doing here?" Like,
They're all like that.
it's so.
Why are
good.
you here? Why are we here? Like, why are we all here? They just all meet up.
And then they just
inadvertently.
like, and then they just have like quite a good chase
realistically-
scene as well.
Realistically, imagine if those two had said to the Soul Detective, "This happened." He'd be like, "No, I didn't." But then
Yeah.
imagine if the Soul Detective said to the other two, like, "Oh, this happened." They'd be like, you know what I mean? Neither party would believe each other.
Sophie as well. Yeah, I
What's
completely
this?
agree with you. No, because I think there's something that we need to talk about when it comes to this film.
What is it?
So Song Kang-ho, his character's theory that the killer has no pubes.
He's a monk.
He's a monk. He could be a monk. So
be a monk.
some of his detective work
Going into the bath.
going into bathhouses, and he's just looking at men's cocks, and it's so funny. Like,
And then at one point, he just asks the man to turn towards it.
yeah,
and then he's like, "Oh, doesn't matter."
he's like, shut up, keep dressing or something. Like, it's just so good.
He's like, hey. And the guy turns and he's like, doesn't matter.
There's such there's like
I've seen your penis now. I don't
there's
need
like
to
a
look
really
anymore.
good joke because like that theory is in the same scene that the song being played on the radio
Yeah.
is being introduced,
And then-
and because she's actually quite a good cop, but
Yeah.
all they ever do is talk about how fit she is.
Have you
Like,
noticed though that she's in a uniform in the police station and
Yeah.
none of the
rest of them
are? Adam pointed that out. He was like, "Why the hell is she in uniform?" And I was like, "It's because she's a woman, Adam. It's because she's
It's
a
because
woman.
she's a woman in the 80s in the police force,
Yeah.
and like
She's
of
probably
course
the only one from Miles."
she's like not as respected as them. Like,
Yeah.
and also they don't really respect her because Kicking Cop just keeps mentioning how, like, oh, you just laughed at Kicking Cop.
Yeah.
That he just keeps mentioning how, like, good she looks in a dress.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it's quite uncomfortable.
But
like,
she's a woman in a man's world, unfortunately.
she's a woman in a man's world, yeah, that's basically what's going on.
But no, when
But
she
she's
comes
actually
out
quite a
and
good
she's
detective.
like, actually, this song keeps getting played
Yeah.
and blah, blah, blah.
And it keeps
then,
playing.
and then it cuts
She
back to
makes
that
the connection
detective.
between the rain as well.
She does, yeah. And then it cuts back to the detective saying to the chief, like, so what about my theory? And he's like, what fucking theory? And he's like,
that
with-
scene is so good. where
With the
he's just-
hair,
with
with the
the
hairless
hair.
pubes. And he's just like, no. And he's like, what, you're just going to go pulling down men's pants to check this? And then that's where it cuts to him in the bath.
It
doesn't
just cuts to him in the bathhouses, and he's just like looking at every man's
And then
cock
a
as he goes
child
past.
goes past and he's kind of like, could be you.
I know, he gives it too long of a look, bro. Like,
Too long
of a look. That is a child. Of course he didn't do it.
You know what though? I think it really goes through his mind. I think that's
It's
how
like,
much it
maybe
is
the
actually
kid-
getting to them as well.
maybe the
Because a
kid-
kid
maybe it
goes
could be a
past.
kid.
He's like, kids don't have pubes. Could be a kid. And then you're kind of just like, stop looking.
You kind of see a look
But
on his
I
face
don't
of him
think
go
he's-
like,
I don't think he's literally looking at a kid's penis.
No,
I think
no,
it's
no.
just the things are running through his brain where he's like, could be a kid. And you're kind of like, no, that's just because
No,
you've gone
it's
on too
definitely
long
not.
with this case.
definitely not.
Like, it's not a kid, but, you know.
And
move on.
then once they've started to shift into gear, where they kind of like, where they've started to be like, okay, real detective work now.
Yeah.
They catch like an actual break, and they
Yeah.
come across guy who moved in to the area
Yeah, the suspect. Yeah.
around about the time that the
Which-
murder started.
I'm going to come back to what I was going to say. What I
Okay.
was going to say.
Around about the time that the murder started, and
Is the one that asks for the song on.
He's the
which
one that's been asking
ultimately
for the
is a
song.
red herring.
it is a red herring, like
Or
basically.
just an assumption, really.
It's. I think the rain is a thing, and I think they've just like connected
Because
it
he
to the
says
song.
rainy day and stuff like that. It just kind of, you know, the thing,
connected
they're
it, I
running
think.
wild. They're like, oh my god, what about
They
this?
kind of run wild with their theories a bit. Film seems to like quietly be about like ignoring real police detective work, like ignoring real evidence, but none of ignoring it works. Like, because I love that like bit at the end where they've got the sample, they've got the semen sample, and they go to like cross-reference it, but they have to send it. They have to send off the sample to America because they nowhere in Korea do they have like the technology to like properly take a look at the sample.
Yeah.
And it's when it comes back and he's holding the soul cop is like really gone to the edge of like where his boundaries are, like, and he's really
I
clearly
could
like
not read that page quick enough. I was
his
like,
morality is
I was like,
clearly
was it him?
shifted.
Was it him? I don't know if it was him.
And it gets to that point where he just like says like it's lies.
It's wrong,
It's
yeah,
wrong. It's
it's
lies.
wrong.
And it's like
Because he's so desperate for them to find somebody. He would have put it on anybody at that point
yeah.
as well.
At that point, he's like shifted, and I love that. And it's a terrific arc for like the kind of like the main cop, Song Kang Ho, because he's the one that stops him.
Yeah.
Like I think that's actually like a really
Whereas at the
great
start,
arc for
he
him.
would have let him
He
do
would
it.
have just let him do it.
100%.
But it's
But at the start, that detective wouldn't have actually done
And the shamanized things comes back, and he like stares into his face,
Mm-hmm.
and he says a line which I put it in my letterbox review because of how like I thought it was like quite a great line for like the whole
What's
film.
this?
Like there's
Rain
like
on your window?
there's like a thing, and he just says something, and he just says like, do you wake up every day like I do? And it's like
Yeah.
there's something about that which is like so like strangely profound, and I love that he's the one, his like shamanized, which don't really work. I agree with you, they don't really work.
Thank
They're not really a
you.
thing. But
You started
it just-
this
it just-
episode
it just
thinking
co-
he was right.
It just comes
when
up a
actually it's
few
just
times in the
shit
film, and I
detective.
quite like how it comes
Oh,
up
it's
like several
funny,
times.
don't get
It's
me
like
wrong.
it's a cool element of the script, you know what I mean?
You know what I actually found?
And I love that he just goes like, "Nah, it's not him."
Another part of the shamanized thing. Yeah, he's just
just
like,
like,
no,
it
it's
can't,
definitely
like,
not.
I can't
The
see
paper
it.
said it, and now my shamanized have said it.
Yeah.
Like it can't be him. You know when he says to
With this real evidence that says
Yeah.
it couldn't be this
Yeah.
man.
But
But 2
actually-
seconds, I'm gonna check if my eyes can see that it's him. Love
when
that.
he tells the chief that he's got shamanized.
Yeah.
And the chief says to him,
Oh, the two
one
guys.
of the guys
Yeah.
brought this guy in who was raping his sister. Which one was the rapist? And then it just cuts off. You don't
He
even
never
find out who it
answers
is.
that question. Yeah.
Because Adam was like, it's this one or whatever, and we never found out, and I was like,
Yeah. It never answers that question because
we
like
don't know.
he's basically
But realistically,
he's best detective by default.
Yeah.
He's the best detective in the village by default, by the fact that
He's the best of a bad bunch.
he's the best of the worst bunch of
Yeah,
detectives. Like,
Um,
and clearly the lass should be it, because she's the only
Yeah.
one with real working
but
theories.
she never will be because she's a woman.
She's a
so
woman,
what can she
but
do?
she has real working theories. But yeah.
Can I start telling you some
Yeah,
shit
can we
about
talk
it now?
about- yeah,
Because
can we
I
talk
think
about the real
we can still talk about the film at the same
Yeah,
time.
we can talk about the real
that'll
thing.
be great.
I'm actually
So-
quite excited to hear about this, because all I know is how it ends, really.
What do you mean, how it ends?
It ended in 2019.
Zip.
Okay.
Right, so
Zip it.
it started...
This is my bit, Gavin. Don't you ruin this for me.
This is my moment.
This is me. I'm the MVP of this podcast.
People want to
Gavin.
hear this part. They just skip to this
They
part.
skip all me talking about the film, and they're just like, "What's the real shit, though? Give me the
They
real
don't care
shit."
about the film. Anyway, so it started in 1986 in...
How confident are you that you're going to say this right?
No, I googled the pronunciation.
Okay.
I have looked, and you know what? It's actually it's how you look at it. To be honest.
Oh, really?
So it's Hwaseong.
Hwaseong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit faster.
Hwaseong.
Hwaseong. Yeah.
Hwaseong. Okay.
So there was a series of rapes and murders that were obviously targeting the female population.
Oh, the peaches. Is that a real thing?
I'm not sure. I didn't want to
Interesting.
look into too much depth.
Right,
Because you know how.
Because that is... When that first comes up, you're like... Oh,
I mean,
no.
it's not unheard of for people to insert
Yes.
things
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
people's
I know
bodies,
that. I know that's a
so-
thing.
Especially when sexual assault has also taken place
Yeah.
within it. Before
It's-
or after the murder.
Yeah, just like that first scene, like that really... God, there's a real shift in the film when that happens. I'll tell you. You're like, oh, God, this feels...
I'm a little
This
bit...
feels so real now.
I've watched too much for
Yeah.
me to really be affected by that. I'm
I
like,
think it's-
gosh, it's got 9 bits of peach in her vagina.
Yeah.
Tell me something I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm like... I'm like,
I could have
not even
I
that
could have told
bad.
you that. Like,
But yeah, sorry. It's obviously that's bad. That's really bad. Like that's shocking.
I think it's more like because we've had such a comedic tone up until that point. Well, it's not all comedy. It's like still got like a lot of serious
There's
stuff
a lot
in it.
of comedy.
Like, because really, you get that scene where she's trying to make it to that factory.
It's not even laugh out loud. You
No,
know what I
it's
mean?
just like-
it's just you look at the
it's just
person
like-
next to you, like, are we watching the same
You're like,
film?
what?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not believing that that's just happened on
yeah, I can, but like, it's almost like you can believe it because of the way these characters are set up. But like,
Yeah.
it feels it. I think the thing I will say about the humor, it comes very naturally into everything that's happening. It doesn't feel like they've like tried to, for some reason, like they're like, oh, maybe this is being too serious, so we'll insert a joke.
Yeah, it's
It
not
comes
that.
really naturally from
Yeah.
who these characters are and how they bounce off each
It's
other.
just a natural humor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in Hwaseong,
Bless you.
I'm just trying to make sure that I get it right every time. So the lack of bus routes meant that it wasn't strange for like women to be walking around alone at night and stuff like that, like along rice fields and stuff like that. So it wasn't unheard of. And there was only 3 policemen on the case at first.
Right. Okay.
So those 3, that is true to fact,
Okay.
essentially. But then it is also one of the most famous unsolved cases in South Korea. Now I say unsolved. It's now not unsolved.
It changed in 2019.
Stop saying when it changed, man.
Why?
Because it's a big thing.
And it stopped stealing my thunder.
Basically, I'm like, so it's actually only a rumor that the killer was killing women that were wearing red.
Right.
So
okay.
I think that might have just been a coincidence with
Right,
with
okay,
some.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Because I
know.
don't think it because the film also doesn't always suggest that that's always the case.
Yeah, well, I mean,
There's even that bit where the lass who gets caught in like next to the rice fields, like the murder that
She
we like
takes
see.
the red
She
off.
takes the red off.
Yeah.
To then put on like her
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
jacket for when it's raining, clearly, and like. Sorry, I just need to talk about one terrific piece of filmmaking within that. There's a great bit where she's holding her umbrella, and we have this like fairly tight shot.
Yeah.
And she's holding her umbrella, and you think that when she goes like that, there's going to be
He's
the
gonna
killer
be there,
there.
yeah.
But instead, it's like to show you how close she is to the factory.
yeah,
Like it's like playing with your expectations of what these scenes are like in films.
yeah.
And like.
Because
she,
I was
like,
like, oh god, he's going to be
he's
there.
going to be behind
there,
the
he's gonna be there. And then
umbrella,
he
but
wasn't,
actually,
and I was like,
where he
all
comes
right.
from is much more uncomfortable because he like, crawls
Yeah.
out like an animal from like
Yeah.
the rice fields. but it shows you
Terrifying.
It shows you something that I think is almost like more upsetting, which is how close she is to where she's trying to get to.
Yeah.
Like, she is so close.
She's literally just going there.
She's like,
with an umbrella for somebody else to come back.
yeah, she's honestly like 100 meters away, and she gets like so close, and then she gets murdered. It's like really, really, like quite deeply upsetting. Like, as soon as she like, because she's like singing, isn't she? That's the whole thing. She's like singing,
and he's whistling,
and like you hear the response of the whistle, and it's just like you have this great shot of like you just see like the rice fields, and it's just like empty.
And then he just pops up
And
a
you
little
see,
bit
like,
when she's like turned.
as she walks away, like there's a pop up of a head, and you're just like, oh, like it just
Yeah.
that scene.
I was like, there he is.
That scene is just so well built up. Like,
Yeah, it's good.
every shot is so purposeful. Like, and it's paced so well, and the way it ends is so horrible.
Yeah.
Like, like crawls out like
Yeah.
like he's a creature,
And then just
it's
her
so good.
scream with the darkness.
And then that's it. It's just such a great sequence. Sorry, continue.
So you know the scarecrow type talisman thing that was in the film, where it's got like the words written down the side
Yeah,
of
there's
it
like a
and stuff
different.
like that.
There's like I think it became like the poster, and it's on like the front of.
Yeah, I think it's different. Like there's various covers
Yeah,
of it and
there's
stuff
various
like that. But
covers
that
and
is
stuff.
one of them.
Ooh, I keep
Don't
punching
punch
this.
this fucking microphone.
Punching the fucking microphone.
No.
You're not
so
listening. You're gonna cut my stuff, Sophie.
So the locals actually put those up to like ward off the killer, kind of thing.
Oh, right,
that was
okay.
a true thing that they
That's
did.
super interesting.
So after, I think it was around about the fifth murder, they kind of were like, this is a serial killer, like this.
Yeah.
This is happening. So it turned into a large scale investigation then,
Okay.
and there was up to 1.8 million police that worked on the case overall. But the case was from 1986 to 1991. So obviously that would have been people coming and going and stuff like that. That could have been literally
People that would have worked at the labs and looked at a little piece of evidence.
exactly.
Or
So
something like
that would
Yeah,
have
yeah.
included obviously a vast.
Would that have included the like Americans that they sent off the
Yeah,
stuff
probably.
to? Probably,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And in total, more than 20,000 men were investigated. That's almost all of
What?
the men in this small rural village. And yeah,
20,000 men were
20,000
investigated.
yeah. But
It's actually impressive that they made a 2-hour film out of this thing.
by the looks of it, they're obviously not doing proper measures. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
okay.
it's not going to be
It's like a
legal,
little
a lot
interview
of
or
the
something.
stuff.
Well, there's
No,
just
I just mean like they're probably just knocking on doors, fucking
yeah,
harassing men.
classing them as like investigated sort
yeah,
of thing.
exactly.
Yeah, I get you.
So by 1991, there was 10 victims.
Right,
So
okay.
there'd been
How many did we see in the film? Did we see like 5 or 6?
something like that, yeah.
Something
But
like
I
that.
think in the film, it's really only a short period of time and how long it actually lasted. This sort of thing.
How long do you think that the movie seems to say it's over?
Maybe like a year.
I want to say about a year,
Well,
maybe
actually,
2.
no, not even, because if you think it was what, September, October when the film started.
I think it does mention that it's like
October, it was
it's
October.
yeah.
I don't think it's really long after that, because don't forget, a lot of the murders have already taken place.
Yeah, that's true actually.
So
Ex-
and one
because
of them
it's-
was from like the September before that.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true actually.
I think the film starts more or less when they start realizing that it's a serial killer.
Yeah.
And then obviously it goes to this broader
Mm-hmm.
investigation. The police assumed that there was a potential copycat for the final crime, so that's the 10th one.
Okay.
But more about that in a minute.
Okay.
So Korea, like you said at the time, could not do like DNA sampling and stuff like that. So all they could actually do was find out what blood type it was.
Right,
So
okay.
they concluded that it was blood type B.
Okay.
So obviously you couldn't do. That's why in the film they have to send it to America and,
So
and
they can
stuff like that.
properly-
And obviously they've got
properly-
to wait for it.
Yeah.
Fingerprints were actually analysed by the human eye.
Fucking hell.
So
Yes, that would have went well.
no, absolutely not.
Wow.
And in 2006, the statute of limitations ran out.
Really?
And assume you know what that means.
Yes.
So, I mean, outside of that, no one can get tried for those
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
crimes.
Wild.
What a load of bollocks.
Like absolute mental.
Crazy. Which actually, I think that happened with the Golden State Killer.
Did it?
Yeah.
What, like
So-
statute of limitations meant it?
Yeah,
Well, it's like
so,
double jeopardy as well as stuff like that as well.
Yeah, so
It's
double
just
jeopardy, you
weird
can't get
systems.
tried for the same thing
Same
twice.
thing
But
twice,
it
yeah.
also depends. Like there is loopholes with that, so people have been but it's because of loopholes in the system.
Do you just get them on like a slightly different charge?
I think so.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But for the same thing.
But same
So,
thing,
like, say someone was tried for first degree murder, you could probably try them for second degree.
right. Okay.
Um,
And then you could maybe like just bump up their prison sentence, basically.
well, no,
the
because
judge.
there is like limits to what you can.
Fuck me.
But also in America, I mean, fucking. There's a great documentary on Netflix. I can't remember the last's name actually. I'll find it in a minute. And she was like a teen sex worker. She was probably about 14, 15 or something like that. So she was underage.
Right.
And she thought this guy was gonna shoot her, so she shot him.
Right.
And she got about 54 years in prison. Because that was what the tariff was for that in that state. So she got like 54 years.
But she's
in
also a
prison.
minor.
Yeah, but she wasn't tried as a minor.
What the fuck?
Yeah, crazy. Honestly, absolutely crazy.
That shit is insane.
Yeah. So her surname I think is Brown. So I'm gonna have a look at what that was.
Okay.
But it's a good documentary.
Do you ever want to start doing documentaries on this? Or do you think it's more fun that we do like the fictional film? We'll say fictional, based on true story film, and then
Yeah. I mean, the film. It's a fictional narrative, essentially, isn't it? Really.
yeah, because the last
Kind of. You know what I mean?
yes.
But
What's the last
documentaries, I mean, it's hard with documentaries
yeah, it is
because what am I telling you that the documentary isn't telling you?
exactly, and also like what also documentary filmmakers have a bias.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, there's interesting stuff because like you always think about like Making a Murderer, and like we always think of that as like being so comprehensive, but there's like certain pieces of evidence that they just
yeah.
totally left out of the documentary.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Yeah. In terms of like documentary filmmakers, I don't think anyone's got as lucky as those filmmakers.
Oh yeah.
Because like they were lawyers who had an interest in filmmaking. They started making this documentary about Stephen Avery, yeah.
Stephen Avery.
They started making this documentary about false accusations of Stephen Avery, and whilst they were making this documentary, he got accused of another murder.
Woman killed.
So they were just like, well, we've got
Keep rolling.
these
rolling.
we've got these relationships with the family now. They're actually fine with us continuing to do this documentary. The second series is shit because it doesn't have that like
It's more about his lawyer, though, isn't it? And
because
it's
it's all about
just,
his
like,
lawyer. But actually,
smooth.
what's so interesting about the first series is
all
just
I
like
feel that she's
how
trying
lucky
to
they
do is
ended up being.
convince you that he didn't do it, and I'm like, nothing in that has convinced me that
yeah,
he
nothing convinced me
hasn't
that he
done
didn't do it.
Like, there's no definitive. There is too much reasonable doubt around that man.
And I just found it so.
He's an idiot.
I find it so like.
He's in prison though, so who
Yeah,
cares?
still in prison, and I just
you, idiot.
find. Yeah, I just can't. There's not another story of like pure luck that I have ever come across. Like when it comes to like filmmaking, of just being like,
Although
Holy shit.
actually, Capturing the Freedmans.
right?
Have you not seen Capturing the Freedmans?
No.
So Capturing the Freedmans is a documentary. Hold on, I'm going to Google it because I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay.
And I've seen Capturing the Freedmans, and it's fantastic. So Capturing the Freedmans. The Freedmans seem. This is the synopsis on. I think it's Prime. The Freedmans seem to be a typical family. Until one Thanksgiving, while they're gathered at home preparing for a quiet holiday dinner, a police battering ram splinters the front door and officers rush into the house, searching every corner and seizing boxes of the family's possessions. Arnold and his 18-year-old son Jesse are both arrested. As the police pursue the investigation and the community reacts, the fabric of the family begins to disintegrate, revealing disturbing questions. They were already having a documentary made about them when that happened. Because they have like a kids entertainment thing.
No fucking way. That's pretty cool. That like.
So, Jarecki, who made Capturing the Freedmans, directed it, produced it. He was initially making a short film called Just a Clown about children's birthday party entertainers in New York City, including the popular clown David Friedman.
What?
And then during making this
That was when all this
when
stuff
they
kicked off.
got arrested and everything.
Whoa.
Cray. Absolutely crazy.
That's pretty cool.
I've got it.
Okay, I might have to borrow that off you at some point.
It's wild. It's a HBO one as well, so you know it's good.
Oh yeah, HBO. tends to be pretty-
HBO. They do the shit.
HBO.
And it's
Home box office.
home box office. Anyway,
Flaxes.
shall I get back to this?
Yeah, continue on the research that you did.
So the investigation logged more than 2 million days, which was a record for South Korea.
2 million days.
2 million days. That's wild, I think.
Jesus
That's a long time.
Christ.
I would like to know what other cases have
have like
Have,
taken
like,
on almost as much
days-wise,
time or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
So obviously we already know the police were accused of torture and coercion, all sorts of shit. But that was true. They genuinely were in real life at this time.
Okay.
Because of some of the measures that they were taking during this. So in 2019, Lee Chun-jae was identified as the killer. His DNA had come back as he was the one responsible for the murders, or at least some of them. And then, at the time, he was already serving a life sentence in prison for raping and murdering his sister-in-law.
Right. It's pretty intense.
That was in 1994.
Okay.
So
When did you say that they went on from 85 to...
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, cool.
You
love the
tell
suspense of this one, don't you?
So he was already serving a life sentence that had been reduced from the death penalty and stuff like that, and it had been changed and whatnot. So he was discharged from mandatory military service in 1986, which is just before the murder started happening.
Whoa, okay.
Just before. So you know that suspect in the film who had been in the military came out and it just started. Like, that is so true to life, and they didn't even know it.
What?
Well, in 2003, they had fucking no idea that it was Lee Chun-jae, did they?
Wait there, so the character that is like supposed to be...
Very similar to the actual guy that did it.
Very similar?
Like, so similar. Actually, so similar, he kind of looks like him.
Really?
Have you not seen him?
That actor is mad... that guy, he's the lead in Decision to Leave, which is a film that came out last year, which I thought was absolutely best film that came out last year. Didn't even get nominated for best foreign film at the Oscars. Pricks. Whoa, he actually does look a lot like him.
So that's the actual guy who, he does look a lot like the actual.
I'm sure I read. Tell me if I'm wrong. He confessed, didn't he?
Will you just let me tell the fucking facts, please?
I'll do no research ever again.
Yeah. So, he stopped committing the murders just before he got married in 1991. So he left the military. Well, he had been discharged from the military.
Yeah.
Started the murders. He got married in the June or the July. He stopped the murders in April.
Okay.
Which is a very, very common thing with serial
Really?
killers and stuff like that, yeah. Either they have kids, they get married, something changes drastically in their life for that to kick in. And
it's like a weird growing up element to that. It's like, oh well, I have to be a grown up now,
it's
so I
not
need to
even
stop
so
killing
much
women.
that, it's just their circumstances change, so they're maybe not able to do it anymore.
Things become less easy for them in terms
Exactly,
of how they can actually do it.
So it's not even always growing up. Because
Yeah.
actually it had I think it was the opposite effect with the Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
Although he did stop at times, and it was around about when his kids were born and he got married and stuff like that.
Right,
but then
okay.
I think he split up with his wife and stuff like that. So, but he did still continue.
Right.
So he stopped just before he got married, literally just before he got married. And then, I'm not even joking, you couldn't even fucking write this. In 1994, his wife left him,
Another man happened.
which is when he killed his sister-in-law. So his wife left him. He invited the sister-in-law over. I mean, I don't know how quick all of that was. You know?
Yeah. You don't know whether it was
could have been
2
the
days.
same day or a year
Whatever.
later, you know what I mean?
And he killed her.
So he invited her over, he drugged her, he raped her, and then he murdered her.
Right, okay. So
And that was
seems-
what he went to prison for.
that seems more like a crime of passion, I'm guessing, than
No.
I guess the other ones wouldn't not be.
It depends on the motivation, really. A crime of passion would be if he killed his wife.
Right, okay, I get you.
So
Fair.
that's just an easy access victim, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So because I told you, obviously, the blood type of the victim was assumed to be B.
Okay.
Lee Chun-jae's was O.
Okay.
So they were looking for the wrong
So they
blood
fucked
type
up.
anyway.
They fucked up their police work way
100%.
earlier anyway.
Because he had actually already been spoken to. He'd been excluded from the suspect list based on
Based
the
on his
blood type.
Wild.
Years earlier.
And they hadn't tried to get him for alibis and anything like that.
Do you think they were going that far?
Yeah, true. Actually, what
Do
did
you think that they were doing
They
that?
just straight up just went, okay.
Yeah. So
Blood
he was
type.
actually questioned. He was questioned by police, right? And there was at one point where he was questioned and he was wearing one of the victim's watches.
What the fuck? Get fucked.
I will not.
I will not, sir.
But he was questioned for not having his ID card.
With a what?
And he was released.
And he was released, but he was wearing the watch of one of his victims.
But I think this is maybe come from what he has said.
Okay.
So I think they didn't know that he was wearing a fucking watch of a
Jesus
victim,
Christ.
which is crazy.
They're like brazenness. Like, honestly, like, sometimes I feel anxious to go outside my own fucking front door.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? So he was actually questioned.
That makes it sound like I like respect this, and I like want to. I would like to be more confident, like these murderers. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Anyway, so he would like run into detectives and stuff like that, and they would ask him about other people.
Oh, fuck off! No way.
Honest to God.
I would actually quite enjoy. Imagine if like Bong Joon-ho like went back to this now.
Yeah.
Imagine if he did like almost like a sequel or like a spiritual sequel or something like that. And imagine if you could use all of this research now to almost do like a different side of
Like a
the police work
retrospective
stuff.
kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a really interesting film.
It would, yeah, it would.
Because
actually.
imagine if it would be like him coming back to his old work or something like that. But yeah, anyway.
Well, I did actually find it really weird that the main, like the lead of the film, essentially, he's not a detective anymore. In 2003, is he?
Yeah, no, he's just like, he works for some company that, it seems to be like a computer company or something.
Yeah,
that,
like selling stuff or
whatever. He's got
whatever.
kids and he's just like done.
He's married his sex worker that he loved.
Yeah, and it
that
just
had
kind of
boring
ended.
sex with.
I think it just ends really, really like, yeah, he was having marital sex before he were pre-married.
I thought it was interesting though that he went to the fucking place where one of the victims was found, and that young lass was like, "Oh yeah, I seen there was another guy here looking down here," and he's like, "That's the fucking guy."
Yeah.
And then when he's like, so the girl was talking to this guy saying, "Why are you looking in that hole?"
Uh-huh.
And he says, "Oh, I did something here years ago. I just wanted to look."
Yeah.
And then he asks her, "Did you look at his face?" "No, I had my fucking eyes closed the whole time."
Yeah, bro. When he
I
was,
was looking at the ground.
when he was talking to me, I was like,
I actually have social
I was
anxiety.
like, I
so
would like to not talk to you, sir. Like, do you know what I mean?
I was backwards. Like, what did you expect her to say? No, I didn't.
I mean,
actually.
also, it could be the other detective as well. I
It
kind
could
of thought
have
about
been,
that. I kind of thought about that.
I did think that.
I get like a weird impression
that could
that
be
like
a red herring for him.
that could be a red herring for him.
It could be any other person who just knew about
That last shot, I like. I love the way it like pops in color as well. Like the color gets like slowly drained. Like slowly drained through the movie. Like it's almost like the rain that keeps coming into the movie,
like
keeps
washing it
washing
out.
away all the
Yeah.
color, and then the sun like brings it back at the end, like really viscerally.
Yeah.
When he goes back to that field, and when he goes back to that that drain where that body was left,
Yeah.
and I just think it's like so, and just like that last shot is so good that he just like looks at us.
Yeah.
It just like holds on like
Essentially,
him
it's
looking
like
at us.
could be anyone. Either.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so Lee Chun-jae confessed to 14 murders.
14.
They thought there was 10.
Jesus Christ.
And about 30 rapes.
Classic.
And you know what he said?
What?
He said that he was surprised that he was not found earlier because he was not careful. Even though the police for
Really?
years had said this is a clever man, he's very careful, he's doing this and this and this.
He said that he
Not a
wasn't
single
very
thing.
clever.
He was sloppy. He was expecting to get caught.
God.
So there was another man.
ACAB, baby.
Yeah. There was another man called Yun Song Yeo who was wrongfully convicted for at least one murder.
Okay.
And this is for the copycat murder. And he spent 20 years in prison.
Before being exonerated.
No.
He wasn't exonerated.
Let me finish. He went to prison in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to prison until about 2008, 2009, I think it was.
Okay.
There was a retrial once Lee Chun-jae confessed to everything.
Okay.
And he was found not guilty, obviously.
Uh-huh.
This other guy. It was only then, and that was like 33 years later. So he had spent all this time in prison, still
What?
assumed guilty, and then it wasn't until
Of the copycat murder
2019.
as well.
Yeah,
So
the
just one
copycat.
specific
so just
murder.
one. But because it wasn't actually a copycat murder,
It was just
Lee
him.
Chun-jae,
It was just the original guy
he
that did it.
confessed to it, yeah, and said, "No, that was definitely
No, that was
me."
that was
yeah.
the copycat murder. I
100%
full
me.
blown did that.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
he basically said like he had done this murder, and I think it was the last one, and it was a 13-year-old girl, and it was in her home.
Do you reckon is that sort of the one from the film? Do you reckon?
No,
Just slightly different circumstances, or is that like another murder?
no, because it would have been a while after that. It was 1991. Don't forget.
Yeah,
And
true.
this is like in
'Cause the film's
1986.
1986, isn't it?
Yeah. So there was a 19-year-old with the surname of Yoon who was tortured, and he falsely confessed, but he denied during the reenactment, which essentially is the young lad with learning difficulties.
The reenactment
And-
that he does, and his like father's there and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
and Lee Chun-jae did say that there was a young disabled guy who was also arrested and stuff like that as well.
So you think that's like almost like an amalgam character there?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. But obviously, they found that he had been coerced into giving this confession.
All that stuff with him is so upsetting.
Yeah, and
With
he
that character.
actually he died at 27 from cancer.
So didn't get hit by a train.
Didn't get hit by a train. Did not get hit by a train. There may have been another person that
Is
got hit
that-
by a train, but
Is
there
that
wasn't
just
anything
pure like
about it?
screenwriting? Like the whole bit where like he's the one who was like he like saw the killing happen
I would imagine so.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything to do with
to like suggest that
the
that's part
actual
of the real
true
thing.
events.
Yeah.
I think that was just to kind of utilize that character a little bit more. As well.
I just really like how that like comes back into play later.
yeah, it's
Like
good.
I really like how that's used.
So I have
within
literally
the
put here
film.
kid from film question mark.
Yeah.
'Cause
Kid-
obviously.
Kid from film.
You
You were me there.
Yeah. And like this kid's brother said, like for the rest of his 8 years of his life, like it just wasn't the same because obviously he'd done that, and
Yeah, and he'd been accused. And
even
yeah, he
though
would have
it
never.
was wrong. A little tidbit which I found quite interesting: as of 2021, South Korean police have a 96.7 success rate on solving homicides.
Really.
That is high.
That's
That is unbelievably high.
nails that.
When I think the US is around about 50.
50.
So I think that's why ultimately when things like this go
That's
unsolved
why
for
they
so
become
long,
such like a.
they're obsessed with it and
Yeah.
like you know what I mean?
That's why
'Cause I
that
think actually
almost like that's why that became such a big story enough to be a film and stuff like that.
yeah.
Because
And I think in places like Korea and stuff
it's
like that,
efficient.
exactly, yeah, I think they are pretty efficient.
Damn.
And I think it was maybe the severity and like the fact that they couldn't solve it is what kind of made it this shit show. Essentially.
That almost like plays like more into the character of like the cop from Seoul.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of almost like plays into his like motives, I guess, throughout the movie. Like why
Yeah.
he's like, holy fuck, we normally just are like
Yeah, like we're
so
normally
good at
done
this
with
stuff,
this,
and
yeah.
like this person
96.7
96.7 is insane.
out of 100 murders.
Do
They're
you take
not
that
solving.
statistic super seriously?
What do you mean?
Because like we get like where people will try and like make statistics
Oh
look better
yeah,
for
I
them.
know. Yeah. I mean, I know that
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I dare say, there's probably a lot of people who are being falsely accused of
Oh yeah,
crimes
totally, yeah.
and stuff like that.
Maybe that's almost like more of like a 96 point what, sorry?
96.7.
96.7 like of like
It
getting
sounds like it's
conviction.
a radio show.
You get like convictions.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Either way, that's what it was. I thought that was wild. You know what, right? I thought, because I knew that the person hadn't been found.
Yeah. Did you know that prior to watching the film?
Yeah.
Or
But-
did you just get that from me being like, this kind of is very similar to Zodiac?
No, I had looked
Okay.
up the film a little bit anyway, just to have a look at what the story was kind of about. And I'd found that it was unsolved. But then as soon as I Googled it after watching the film, because I didn't want to know too much, it was like, it said that they'd found him in 2019. And I was like, oh! I was like, amazing!
Oh my god!
Couldn't believe it. Because obviously...
Did you hear that that's why David Fincher said that was one of the reasons he made Mindhunter? As an apology for Zodiac. Because he said he put
it's not his fault we've not found Zodiac.
Nobody basically, in terms of like a filmmaking sense, he was like, I put my audience through a 2 hour and 35 movie where they
You
think
still
that
don't have
there's
the
still no
answers.
idea as to who the killer is. So he was like, instead, what I'll do is I'll just explain to them how serial killers became like an idea within the state.
I'll just tell them everything, but then I won't actually
Oh,
finish
God,
it.
I'd
So
kind
now
of-
we never find the Atlanta murderer and the BTK killer.
It would be hard to work out how we do it, but I would love to do Mindhunter on this. We'd have to do it as a series.
That might have to be a Patreon series if you want to
if you want to pay for that.
watch along with Mindhunter. If you want to pay for that,
If you want to pay for that.
yeah, I mean that's an idea. little
I would love
Patreon
to, I would love to do
watching
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter.
But yeah, Memories of Murder. I really do love this film. I have to do like a shout out to Lol because like
Did she get you into it?
she'd been telling me how good this movie was for literally since I met her, and she was like, because she doesn't massively like Zodiac, which like fair play to her. Like everyone's got their own opinion. She was like really vehement that I would like this. Like, and she was like super like, you are gonna fucking love this film.
I'm so sorry that yawn came out of nowhere.
That's I guess that's Memories of Murder.
That is Memories of Murder. It was good. I did enjoy it.
I
it was
proper love this
absolutely
film.
ridiculous. If you fancy watching it, give it a watch. And
I
then
100% like fully
listen to the
recommend
podcast.
it, really, to be honest.
Or if you're not going to watch it, listen to the podcast, and then maybe you will watch it.
Yeah, because like, yeah, I know we've just.
I feel like talking about it doesn't ruin it that much, though.
No, I would honestly like recommend it, even if people have listened to this and then like they've never seen it. Like, I would
Yeah.
actually still recommend it because I'd say like just to like watch that kind of like the tone of it and be like, how the fuck is this working?
Yeah, it kind of doesn't make sense to them.
Like, it doesn't make sense to your brain, but at the end you're like, that was great. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I love this film, and to be honest, this is actually one of the films I'm the most excited to do.
Yeah, well, you had gone on about it for a while,
I'd gone
so
on about
we'll
this for a
probably
while.
do some more well-known films now.
If anyone wants to make some suggestions as to other things that we should watch,
You can email us.
email
Who
us.
let us podcast1@gmail.com.
Slide-
Oh!
Slide into our DMs.
Slide into our DMs. We would love that.
We'd love that.
But don't expect that you're speaking to one of us, because it's usually going to be me.
It's usually Sophie.
If you're Gavin's friend and you're like, oh, thinking you're talking to Gavin, you're probably not.
You're
You're probably
not.
talking to his sister that you've never met.
I accidentally responded to someone's story through ours the other day.
Dickhead. Yeah, so check us on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
If you want me to start a Patreon,
Yeah.
let me know. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that would be pretty exciting. I'll get a better microphone because this one's shit.
Yeah, get back a microphone.
I did have a second one of the one that Gavin's using, but it doesn't work on the laptop, so can't use it.
Yeah.
Let me know what you want to see.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Listen, I mean...
rate and review as well, please.
yes, please. That would be really, really
wonderful.
cool,
Tell your friends.
because I know I was
Tell at least
taking...
one person.
I know I was taking the piss out of it last time, but actually, yeah, I would quite like if people told us if this
It's a
was
little
any
bit
good,
of
to be honest.
serotonin.
Yeah, honestly, that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
You showed me like how many people had like downloaded our podcast, and I was like, that felt good.
Yeah, it does. It feels good. It feels good, doesn't it?
These people want to listen to my idiot voice, so that's quite nice.
Maybe you want to listen to me more. I don't know.
Probably, because Sophie is the MVP, as all my mates keep telling me. Which feels really, really good.
Should we end on that high note?
Yeah, we should. That's Sophie's the MVP.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so this has been Watching Memories of Murder,
Memories of Murder.
episode 4.
Yeah. In your ears?
No.
No. Cut that.
Just say ta-ra.
Yeah. Ta-ra. Have a lovely day.
No, you're supposed to say ta-ra. I'm supposed to say see you next
Okay.
time.
This is the end.
This is the end.
Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
As
Watch
do
this
I.
film because it's sick. Ta-ra.
See you next time.